Hello everyone, thank you for watching this talk about Gradle. I'm Baptiste Mesta, I'm an R&D engineer at Bonitasoft since 2009. I'm mainly focusing on developing the BPM execution engine, but I also do some developer tooling, and recently I've worked on an AI analytic module inside Bonitasoft. You can reach me on Twitter and GitHub using these anchors. Today we'll have a quick look at what is Gradle, how it works, how we can build all kind of projects with it, and finally we'll see why we should use it and what it can brings us. So Gradle is a build tool written in Java. It executes on the JVM. It's of course open source, but it's built by a company called Gradle Inc. In my opinion, one of the great features of Gradle is to have a nice DSL, domain-specific language, that is written either in Groovy or in Kotlin, so you can have a really easy view at what your build is doing, and it's easy to write. Also, the build execution is very easy to read. As you can see on this slide, we have a Maven build at the right and a Gradle build at the left. It's easy to spot at which phase we are currently in the build, so it's nice if you have some long builds. Also, Gradle is highly customizable and extensible, but the subject of this talk today. How it works. To understand how we can build everything with Gradle, we need to understand a little how Gradle works. So, it behaves this way. First, Gradle will take all your build scripts, interpret them. From these build scripts, it will create a dependency graph of all your tasks. And finally, it will execute only the required tasks. A task is an unit of work. As you can see here, I wrote a simple task called hello that does a simple thing. It's only printing hello. You can also have dependencies between tasks. Here I wrote a second task, which is called world, and just print the word world. But I introduced the dependencies between the tasks. As you can see here, I wrote world depends on hello. So when I execute the world task, it will first execute the hello task and then the world task. That was a very simple example, but in a real life project, you could have something like this. For example, on the right, we can see the partial task graph for a standard Java build. You can notice the compiled Java task that will convert your classes into your Java files into classes. Here's a more focused look at that. So, as you can see, there's an important concept in Gradle that is called inputs, outputs of tasks. These inputs, outputs are simply described inside a task, and in this case, you see that inputs of the compiled Java tasks is the Java files, and in outputs, you will have your classes. Is a small example of a minimal build that compile a Java application. So there's not much, only one main class that is inside a SRC main Java package and is referenced in this build using the main class attributes. In the build file, we can see some plugins are applied, some repositories are defined, and so some dependencies are declared. This simple build file is enough to construct a full Java application. Here is an example of tasks that are available with this small project. So we have, for example, the run task that will run the application, but mainly we just want to build it using the build task that will create the zip with everything we need to run it. So we saw that it's pretty basic to build a simple Java application, but what we want to do is build more than just Java application. For example, if I want to build some Go technologies using Gradle, what I will do is that I will search inside the Gradle plugin portal for a plugin that can do that for me. In the case of a Go project, there's a Go plugin called com GitHub blind parade Go Gradle that will do that. And to use it, it's simple. In this case, I created a small Go project called my Go project with only one single source file that is called main.go, and this project will be built using the build.gradle build script that is shown on the right. Here we only apply the plugin and specify some Go package using the DSL provided by the plugin. So after applying this plugin, I now have a new task that is called Go build, and this task will compile my project. As you can see here, Gradle found on my local environment my Go tool that was installed. So it's using it and compiling my project. So for common technologies like Go, it's easy to find plugins, but sometimes you don't have this kind of plugins. If you have some custom in-house development, for example, and you want to use them, of course you will not find a community plugin for that. So in that case, what you can do is develop your own plugins like this. It's a simple example that only some simple class to implement. You have one method to implement that is called apply, and it apply on a project something. So in that case, I only create a new task with some description and some behaviors. For example, at Bonitasoft, we have something called the UI Designer. It's a project that help us design web pages and produce some web paging using that are composed of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. What we wanted to do is to automate some build and use Gradle to, from JSON and JavaScript file, call the UI Designer, retrieve the page built by the UI Designer, and produce the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. As you can see, using plugins, we can build everything. Yeah. So if you have some Java sources, of course, there's a Java plugin. If we have some Go sources, we can find some community plugin to build that. If we have some in-house technologies, we can use a custom plugin that will do that for us. In this example mono repository, we have a Java backend, a Go service, a new ID page, and a distribution that zip everything into a single zip file. We'll use this example to demonstrate the benefit of Gradle. So yeah, you will tell me it's nice, I can build some Go project using Gradle, but okay, Go already have a build tool. So why should I use Gradle to do that? There's few benefits, in my opinion, that allows us to prefer Gradle rather than just the Go build tool. First, okay, I have Gradle, I want to build Go, so I need to have Gradle, Go, a JVM. In fact, you don't need to have Go to build Go using Gradle because the plugin will download the distribution for you if you don't have it. It's the first thing. Most of the community plugin will download all distribution required to build your project. Okay, so I don't need to have Go installed, but I still have to have Gradle installed. It's the same thing. In fact, there's a small script that is called the Gradle wrapper that will download the distribution for you the first time you execute the build. So, in fact, you only need to have a JVM installed on your environment or your CI environment. Another very nice feature of Gradle is the work avoidance. It's one of the strengths of Gradle and one of the things that made me use it. It's that on every task that Gradle executes, first Gradle will get all the inputs, create an hash of these on these source files from every build, and if this hash did not change, the task will be skipped. So in real life, it works like that. On your first build, you have nothing already built, so you can't reuse already built things. But on the second build, Gradle will detect that your source did not change and will not re-execute all these tasks. So instead of taking, for example, 20 seconds to build your project, the second time it will take virtually 0 time. Then you will maybe do some changes on your sources, and on my monorepository projects, as you can see, only the module that have changed will be recompiled. The others will not. This is nice locally, but this also works for your team and your continuous integration servers. There's a feature called build cache that works kind of the same way. We'll see how. So if I am a Java developer, I'm doing the first build on my project, so I am getting it, checking, cloning my repo, and launching the build with some updates, so everything will be compiled and so on. But if I have some build cache configured, what it will do is that even if I change some source file on my project, all modules that were already compiled by other teammates will be retrieved from this cache. This increases a lot the build time of all your projects inside your team. And what is important to remember is that as a Java developer, I never had to build the Go or UID module in that case. As you can see, I just update the Java source files, and my projects do not have to compile the Go or UID module. Here's a quick graph of what we gain at Buintersoft by using the Gradle cache and the Gradle reoccurrence feature. So on Java only project, for example, with a clean build, the build was lasting 64 seconds, but already just using Gradle without configuring anything, a rebuild lasts only 5 seconds. And if you change some sources files, it takes less time than the first time, 64. But what is interesting is that when you use the cache with a clean build, so you're just cloning your project and doing Gradle build, the build time goes down to 9 seconds instead of 64. For a more complex project like this one, so we have a build with 30 modules that have some front-end technology, some Java, some custom builds. We go from 400 to 28 seconds using the remote cache. In conclusion, in my view, we should use Gradle for 3 things. The first one is that you don't have any tool to install only a JVM. All the rest for your continuous integration servers and your local desktop can be downloaded by Gradle itself and the plugins. Also, as each developer can focus on what matters to them. For example, as a Java developer, I don't want to build the React parts because it's not the part that I'm familiar with. It's okay. I just have to launch the build and only the part that I'm working on are recompiled. Finally, it's easier to go on a new project if it's using Gradle because you know that in order to build it, the only thing you will have to do is to launch Gradle wrapper build. So to conclude again, yes, we can build everything with Gradle, yet it's useful when mixing technologies, and I recommend you to use the build cache. Thank you.